Hello and welcome to our 12-part mini-series Harvestable. Join us every Thursday for 15-minute fireside chats with agriculture's most insightful minds in the lead up to harvest. In this episode, we are joined by Leonie O'Driscoll of Evofarm Agribusiness Solutions.
Hi everyone, it's Emma Weston. I'm the CEO and a co-founder at AgriDigital, and it's amazing to bring you Leonie O'Driscoll, someone I've known for quite a long time. Welcome to Harvestable, the podcast, Leonie.
Hi Emma, nice to connect with you again.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. So Leonie, you and I have known each other for quite some time, so we should put that out there for the listeners. We do know each other quite well and have worked alongside each other in the past. But since Ag Farm Days, which is where we were connected, your journey in agriculture and also technology and supply chain has taken, many twists and turns and developments. Are you able to tell us a little bit about that? But also, who is Leonie? Where do you come from? Where are you today? Whatever you're welcome to share.
Okay, thanks Emma. I guess my background, I'm originally a Mallee girl from the South Australian Mallee. I grew up, with farming and I guess the business of farming in my blood. I finished an ag science degree. I always loved the production side of farming, but really had a passion for the business side of it. So eventually I got my first job was with Cargill, and I moved over to the eastern states and was with them, for a few years until I changed vocation and moved on to ag farm. And I guess the main factor was there. I guess I was really passionate about the farmers themselves. I wanted to work for the farmers, and that was kind of more aligned to my values. So I guess in terms of my journey there, working as a broker and also previously with Cargill, I moved around and I met multiple farmers from South Australia right through to to Queensland, and I guess I've carried that with me to what I do today. But the main thing we used to start with was an Excel spreadsheet and names and numbers and a telephone, and you'd receive prices every day, and then you'd have a spreadsheet with phone numbers, and then when you spoke to farmers, you'd kind of note down, what they produced, how many tonnes they had, and the storage. So that was the simplest, system in terms of technology. I mean, of course it worked, but then, from there, developing software and technology so that you could do more with less and more with less people and staff and get the most out of yourself individually. So I think it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of agriculture. There's just so much you need to do these days, and it's impossible to keep it all in your head.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been talking with a number of different people as part of Harvestable, but just also, in my role at AgriDigital, and the role of the farmer is actually going through a lot of change. And perhaps that's an entry point into where I want to focus our chat today. And that is really about how farming, technology, and the paddock to plate supply chain are coming together to create value. And I wanted your opinion on that. I know that you're involved in that directly, but also where is that value being created, and are farmers getting the benefit of it?
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally I started off in the commodity supply chain where, you had wheat, barley and everything dumped into storage sites all over the place. And for whatever reason, my career's changed to be more focused on trying to value add niche products, which tend to be closed loop supply systems. So, my business, Evo Foods, is really focused on managing that supply chain and those logistics and that quality from typically farmer storage, which I think a lot of farmers, have invested in for multiple reasons. And that creates the opportunity to have, end-to-end supply chains where, I can finger point the exact line number of a specific seed of maize or corn or whatever it might be, and trace that all the way through to a batch number on a packet of chips, for example, or a packet of popcorn. So where's the value in it? It's hard to define, but I know my customers are looking for social compliant supply chains. They're looking for environmentally focused supply chains. And even yesterday I was talking to one of my major customers. It was about popcorn. And, I was talking about, my popcorn's too good this year. It's a bigger pop. And I said, well, why don't you just, change your bag size, increase the bag size so it doesn't blow the bag. And obviously they're getting pushback from, say, Woolworths and Coles saying, well, we don't want you to have bigger bag sizes. We're conscious about the environment and waste. So there's a lot of pressures that you don't think and you don't see from the farm that are evident as you follow it all the way through.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And, you mentioned Evo Foods, which is your business, as you said, and it's a business that in some ways has two sets of customers, doesn't it? It's farmer customers as well as the buyer customers. And, you spoke about being a broker earlier, but really you're sitting in between almost as assisting them from a supply chain management perspective, from managing that supply and demand dynamic in a way that, is trying to add more value, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm still, ideally, I'd like to be able to drive a value proposition of trust, and that trust means that I'm a trusted counterparty and kind of, not counterparty, but business partner in terms of I'm a farmer and I'm good at growing, good at growing this product. And I can take them further down that supply chain and share in those rewards. And that's kind of really my focus. And ideally, once those farmers also get to understand, it's a two-way educational street where, I'm taking the farmer on the journey to understanding what the customer wants. And I'm also, I'm going to prepare a presentation this week for one of my major customers in terms of teaching those staff and understanding, how popcorn grows, what are some of the constraints, what's the investment that a farmer takes, what's the risk that we're taking on to actually, meet their needs, and what we do day to day, because it doesn't just turn up in their factory just that simply. It takes a lot of management and care.
Yeah, and cost, right? Sort of starting to expose the true cost of producing food is one of the great themes of, the current social approach to supply chain. Something that we had a little bit of a chat offline earlier, and we didn't practice this one, so I hope you don't mind me springing it on you, but it just came out of what you were saying there, and that is the role of trust and technology in terms of how they go together. I mean, that's what I'm proposing. Do they go together in your view? Does technology enhance the trust relationship or your role as a trusted advisor?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I mean, for example, with my popcorn market, that I'm actually now, naively or not, I've actually been more open with the customer, and I've shared with him the costs. I've shared with them concerns when water's high or fall armyworms around or there's mice, there's mice up the stalk and there's E. coli in the product. I mean, I share that, and then I kind of sit back and I go, well, maybe I shouldn't be so sharing in terms of using technology to share with them exactly, what's happening. But that's just the way I've gone, rightly or wrongly. And really, for me, ultimately, because I've got a closed loop system, if there is a product recall, in terms of there might be, a piece of steel or something, in that packet of chips, and then someone breaks a teeth and there's a complaint, that can actually be tracked all the way back. So being transparent also increases the risk, and that, I'm opening myself out to exposure more so than anyone else has. And I think that's one of the reasons why, it's the slow burn here in this side of things. But I think ultimately, for me, I'm trying to grow market share and repeatability. And I think despite the risks that we're, obviously trying to manage, I think it'll do us wonders in terms of, business in the long term.
Yeah, look, I'm absolutely sure of that. And by connecting the farmer deeper down the supply chain and exposing, parts of the farmer's data essentially packaged up alongside the niche commodity, in your case, or the niche crop, in your case, popping corn, really it is, that is part of the value proposition of of what you're providing, and it's also helping buyers and farmers, connect in deeper ways, I would have thought.
Yeah, and look, are there better ways to price commodities? Because, at the end of the day, a farmer always just wants, obviously they want as best as they can, but typically there's a margin per hectare that they want to hit year in, year out for, and they want to diversify, they don't just grow all one product, right? So if they make X dollars a hectare on that, they're happy to lock it in. So, are there models that we can look at to price things out multiple years? They're the type of innovative things that I think may happen, down the track with full transparency. But look, there's no doubt, farmers want as much as they can, but I can guarantee you, I think, with Australia, with, 2 major supermarkets, they're always hounding you on price. So price and quality, and they want as much as they can for as least as they want. And I think that's the value of having someone like myself in the middle of that supply chain to kind of work collectively, in certain products that are dealing.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I think, it's also, you're also a disseminator of information, right? You're passing intelligence from the supply chain, back to the farmer, from the farmer up the supply chain. And hopefully that creates some optionality on both sides at some point. Look, just to wrap up, I wanted to let our listeners know that you're also a farmer. You grew up on a farm, but you're also a farmer with your husband and family now. Whereabouts do you farm, and what are you farming at the moment?
Yeah, so we're based just north of Wagga in a town called Mara. It's it's a lovely little spot. So we've got a mixed farming operation that we use a lot of contractors to put in our crops. So we've got wheat, barley, canola, but also focused on fat lamb and prime lamb production as well. When we're not working in the office, it's a bit of an out for me, and we enjoy having our 3 kids kind of grow up just outside of a city, but live on a farm.
Yeah, look, it sounds fantastic. And I know that you and your husband have both worked really actively, both on and off the farm, for many years now. So it is possible to combine that in with an operation, but it probably requires quite a bit of organisation and maybe some forward planning to make it work successfully. Yeah,
plenty of spreadsheets, much to your horror, Emma.
I know. I want to replace them all. I'm going to replace the spreadsheet, as everyone knows. Well, look, Leonie, thank you so much for joining us on Harvestable. I hope you have a great harvest in a couple of months, and we'll talk again soon.
Good on you. Nice to chat.
Thanks, Leonie.
Thank you for listening to Harvestable by Waypath. We hope you enjoyed this fireside chat. Have a great weekend, and see you next Thursday.